So I guess my first question for you is an obvious question. What do you get asked more about, your Oscar nomination, your work on To the End of Time, or that Tilex commercial from the 80s?
Well, that's the best starting question I've ever received doing this. Thanks, man. I would say I wish they'd ask more about the Tilex commercial. That's what I wish they would ask for more. The Oscar nomination, that's a nice thing that happened. And what was the third one?
Oh, To the End of Time, of
Oh,
course.
To the End of Time. Yeah, the movie that nobody ever saw. That was actually so much fun to make. Did you get a chance to see it, or you just see the trailer out there somewhere?
Not only have I seen it, I marveled at your hairstyle in this movie
I
because,
worked long and hard.
well, as someone who is never going to have a chance at having that type of do, I'm kind of envious that you were able to grow that sort of thing. But my money was on the M&M's commercial, or perhaps maybe your Greatest American Hero cameo in season 3.
Yes, thank you for bringing up. Yeah, all of those.
Well, no,
M&M. You know, it's funny. Somebody just posted that M&M's commercial recently. I forgot I even did it. I had to look at myself a bunch of times and say, "Was that? Did I really do that?" Yeah.
was the motivation in that one from the director just look surprised? Because I think that's all you had to do, was just look surprised and get paid, because you have a moment in the fair where you're just like
Yeah.
surprised they took your M&Ms.
Yeah, and I'm kind of flirting with the girl behind the stand there. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't even. I did so many commercials at that sequence of time in my life. I don't remember even doing that one, so I had to watch it myself. It was kind of fun one, actually.
Well, in the research, I also found your Nissan commercial from the 80s as well.
Thank you for bringing up my commercial resume.
Well,
Those
no,
were those were fun. I started out doing commercials when I was 10. My first one was Kool-Aid, and it was a hobby for me. I just kind of, my folks said, "Hey, a bunch of your friends are doing commercials." My dad was in the industry, and you want to try that. And my question was, do we have enough money to be on television? You know, I thought you had to pay to be on TV. They're like, "No, you get paid for that." I'm like, "Oh, really?" So I started when I was 10, and it was just a fun kind of hobby, like baseball and football and other sports I did. And then it grew on me. And then by the time I was 17, graduating high school, I thought, you know, I'd like to go out on some movie auditions and TV auditions. So it was really it was a fun time actually doing all those commercials.
now, in terms of you're speaking about growing up in the industry. Many people don't realize that you grew up on set, essentially, and you got to hang around some pretty iconic individuals.
I
Do you
did.
think that's what inspired you to go into the industry?
Yeah, I don't know if it was inspired as much. It was by osmosis. It was kind of the natural thing for me to do. My dad was the associate director of the Tonight Show, and he worked at NBC Studios as a director. He was a staff director there. He would take me in from Long Island on the train to the city, and I'd walk around the sets and be in the control rooms. And I kind of got to see behind the curtain real early. And it was never, I didn't kind of come into it watching it and then learning the machine. I kind of was raised inside that machine in a sense. And then my dad moved to LA, took us out when we were 10, worked on the Love Boat, and worked with Clint Eastwood for a long time, and did Midnight Run with De Niro as the second unit director on that, or the second assistant director. And I got to meet, one of my favorite times was the first thing I did really with a movie was being a stand-in on a movie called The Island that Michael Caine starred in with David Warner. I was 14 years old, and there was a little guy named Jeffrey Frank who was the actor in that, and he was Michael Caine's son in that, and I was his double. They set the lights on me, and I got a feeling for that. And I'll never forget Michael Caine, how kind he was, and David Warner, one of the quintessential villains of movie history, and what a gentle man he was. And so yeah, and Chuck Norris I met when I was young, and all these, so I was around it, and yeah, kind of grafted into the industry. I had an 8mm film camera in my hand from the time I was 10 years old. I was the only kid in the film club. I would splice it with my fingers and put the tape on it. I have so many old films of when I was 10 to 15, and then it turned into videotape. And it was just something fun. It was really a hobby, something I loved to do. And went to film school to become a filmmaker when I got cast in Karate Kid. And all of a sudden I had a career, and was working as an actor, and then went from there. So it's like a very natural life in this industry for me.
Do you have some of those films still?
I have all of them, and they're great. I gotta post them someday. They're
I
fun.
think you
Like
do.
Star Wars. Yeah, we did like Star Wars, but we called it Shoe Wars, and the opening is a giant shoe coming over the
That's
screen
awesome.
with lightsabers, and I paint in the little lightsabers and the shooting and the little lasers, and a lot of comedy, Spider-Man, Superman, a lot of fights. a lot of fun stuff. Yeah. Black and white. I played with black and white when I was a kid.
Now, now, many of many people in their career can say maybe they've worked with one comedic legend, but you've worked with two, Kinnison and Dangerfield. I mean, that's kind of a wham bam there. Not many people can say that. Do you have any memories or like stories from that set of like how they interacted with you? Were they kind to you as an up and coming actor as you were filming?
Yeah, well, Rodney I met in an elevator in Madison, Wisconsin, where we filmed a lot of the college was there. And I was rolling in with my suitcase into an elevator. You know, I just got the part. I get up a couple levels. All of a sudden, the doors open. Rodney gets in. His hair's sticking up. He's in a robe. His eyes are fattened. You know, I said, "Hey, Rodney, I'm Billy Zabka. I'm playing Chaz." He goes, "Yeah. How you doing? I know you are." I said, "What are you doing in your robe?" You know, and he goes, "Oh, I got to get to the sauna. I got to get the pot out of my lungs." He goes, "You can handle it." Yeah, that was how I met him, and he was super nice. You know, it's all these comedians. You know, Pat Morita, you know, Chevy Chase I work with. These comedic guys, they all have these, you know, kind of soft hearts in a way, you know, especially Rodney did. We became, I would say, friendly on that. And we would talk in the makeup chair, and he would tell me things about his family. And funny thing was, Christmas came around, and I remember going into his big motorhome and putting a little, you know, Merry Christmas card. I did that to everybody, just put in his motorhome and left it at that. And we did our triple Indy out in the desert together. You know, he did his triple Indy, I did my thing. Didn't see him until the rap party, and it was in Malibu at some nice restaurant. And he was sitting at the head table. I'm sitting with a bunch of the cast, and he walks all the way across the room, taps me on the shoulder, and he says, "You know, that was the nicest thing anybody ever did for me on a set was give me a Christmas card. Nobody does that." He said, "I just want you to know you really touched me. Thank you so much." It was really nice, you know. So we kind of bonded, and I wouldn't see him. I didn't have any interaction with Sam at all, except I would go to the Comedy Store, you know, after that and watch him with Roddy sit at a table for a minute. But what a great guy. What a genius comedian. I think that was his best film. Some of his best work as an actor. He got to use all his stand up in that. And yeah, it was exciting to be on that film. Yeah.
Now, let's just get this out of the way. Never mind the people that are listening in on this, whatever. It's just you and me talking. Just break the news now that Terry Silver, Julie Barnes, and just break the news that Terry Silver's coming back, Mike Barnes, Julie's coming back. Just tell us all they're coming back.
I'll just tell you everything right now. So here's the truth.
So something wrong?
So I got broken up there. Hey, listen, I'll tell you this much. I know they're going to announce some things soon, sooner than later, very soon. I'm not allowed to say anything or they'll take me out to pasture. So, but I know Netflix is getting ready to make some announcements. So you'll hear that.
So Terry Silver's joining. You just blink twice. What about Mike? No. Julie Pierce.
Julie Pierce, you know, they're all great. You know, they're all in the universe. Anybody could be coming.
It'd be kind of cool if they were in the season 4, wouldn't it?
Of course.
Now, people will kill me if I don't ask you for a little bit of a preview. So can you give me a little preview before we even have this announcement? Like, what could fans expect without giving anything away?
Well, the truth is they're going to don't get ahead of the story. Expect the unexpected, because really the writers will keep you on your toes. They keep me on my toes as an actor. Every time I turn the page, you know, I have a little idea of where the season's going. I get my arc and I know, you know, 1 to 10, but all the micro turns and all the surprises in there, they keep till, you know, a couple weeks before we shoot. So expect the unexpected. It's a great ride. It's big, it's wide, it's deep, it's exciting, it's dramatic. It's all that Cobra Kai has been up to now and more, I think. And the climax is gonna blow some minds. So yeah, you enjoy it. That's all I can give you right now. I wish I could do more as they leak more stuff out and tease it. I'd be happy to jump in and share all that with you.
All right, I'm going to get out of this dangerous area. We're going to just talk about the obvious here. Let's talk about Johnny. Why do you think people are relating to Johnny more as these seasons go on?
More as the seasons are progressing. Well, I think
yes.
Yeah, well, you know, we met Johnny and it was a little bit like, well, last time we saw him, he was, you know, kicking kids against fences and, you know, caught a crane kick to his face, choked out at the beginning of Karate Kid Part 2, and that was that. So the first one is kind of like, you know, getting to meet the old bully, and things didn't go so well for him, and seeing a little under the hood, and maybe he's you know, not such a bad guy, and he's trying to make things work. He steps in and saves this kid, and good intentions, opens a dojo and trying to make some sense of his life and give his life purpose again. You know, he's a work in progress. I think that everybody relates to a work in progress. I think I am. I think we all are in some sense, trying to fall forward. Johnny does that with his heart on his sleeve. He's kind of unapologetic, moves forward. He's kind of thick-headed, short-sighted, but there's something endearing, I think, about that. You know, and his detachment from, you know, modern technology and learning that. It's a fun way to, it's fun to experience that through his eyes. I was there when there was no internet, no cell phone. You know, I was there as it, we slowly had to sign up for Facebook. What's Facebook? And, you know, what's a text message, and what's Wi-Fi? And, you know, for those of us that went through that period, it's kind of fun to look at that again through this guy's eyes. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, Johnny has a heart of gold. And to me, if Johnny had a Miyagi or a mentor that took him in his younger life, he would have turned into a whole different person. So here's a guy who's, you know, almost has the wrong shell on him with a pounding heart but it's he has a small tool bag of how to deal with life. You know, he thinks impulsively, he thinks sometimes too much with his fist, but he's trying to, you know, I love in season 2, and he's like, you know, don't be, you know, mercy. We sometimes show mercy, you know, it's like no mercy isn't working. He's trying to figure it out. And unfortunately, all these kids are part of that experiment. So they get the short end of the stick when he makes a misstep, you know, and, but he's trying to do right. He's trying to do right for himself. He's trying to do right by these kids. He's trying to find balance with Daniel, and this place, you know, and find love. What I love in season 3 is when he bumps into, when Allie comes back into his life and taps that little kind of, you know, young love that went wrong in him, and brings him to his childhood in many ways. And he was very free, he goes back into kind of a youthful state there, and, you know, that feeling of young love and tying up that heartbreak, and then going to Carmen, who has his heart now. And, you know, I think he's a very human character. He's certainly a very real, honest human character for me to play, and the writing is fantastic. And that's it. And he's a lot of fun. You know, I think it's a lot of fun.
I think it's the trauma. If you just my take, I think it's the trauma and how you address it in the show that makes him the most relatable character. And it's kind of astounding that the writers have managed to take the focus off of one central character and make it more broad, a more broader approach. And really, if you were to make an argument, you could say Johnny, it's really now Johnny's story. It's a redemption story. You're rising from the ashes. You're making these great choices. I mean, that's really what happens at the end of season 3. And I guess my question is, as an actor, does that inspire you that the writers have that much confidence that you have to, you know, project that trauma that they put on paper? Does that kind of motivate you? Does it inspire you? I mean, it must have to.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're writing, they're throwing me big pitches, and I have to hit them. I have to nail these things. You know, I have to go into the belly of this character. And you know, does it inspire me? I think it challenges me, but in a great way. It just calls to, you know, I've been in this, I've been doing this for a minute. You know, talked about my commercials when I was 5, you know, 10 or whatever. So, you know, I'd say I've got a whole lifetime of experience to draw from. You know, I have kids. I have a stepson that I helped raise. He's 29 years old. I've been through a lot, lost some buddies. I have a lot of life experience that lives in me that I get to share and put into this to this narrative that these guys are writing. So yeah, it's inspiring. I think it's a huge compliment. There's no doubt about it. The fact that they came and they trusted me, and Sony put their chips on me and at that time and said, you know, we believe you can do this together with Ralph. I mean, it's really the two of us. And so it's been amazing, kind of, you know, when you put a task in front of you that looks too big or intimidating, those are the ones that I was always good under pressure. Football, baseball, you know, I was somehow always good under pressure. So I perform, I think, at my best when the stakes are highest. Because there's no time in that moment. There's no time to monitor yourself, because there's no time to watch yourself from the outside. You got to do it. You got to pull everything you have into it. I love that. That's the adrenaline rush. That's the inspiration for me. That's what makes me love to do this job and play this character. And they'll write me stuff that I'm like, oh man, I got to say that. I got to do this. You know, it hurt. It hurt when Kreese took the dojo away. After season 1 and 2, Johnny built this thing. And then I'm turning the pages. I'm like, wait, so now I don't have Cobra Kai anymore. I let Kreese back into my heart and my life, and he takes it back. I mean, I knew that was coming, but when you read that and you have to play that, it's very deep feeling, you know. So all those notes are happening in many ways. I feel like I'm living this character. When I go to work, I really do jump into his skin and turn off, you know, good 98% of my faculties to play him, you know, in many ways. You know, of course, guiding it from the outside and communicating with the writers and making sure that, you know, this is on point, and I'll have a note, I'll make an adjustment. They'll agree or disagree. It's collaborative. It's collaborative with everybody.
Well, Zola went on Instagram the other day, basically proclaiming to the world that you deserve the Emmy nomination. And I think your work in season 3 is without doubt fantastic stuff. And you really do deserve the Emmy nomination. I mean, this is why I'm so thrilled to be able to talk to you about your work and what you've went through. And your answers have been brilliant. But there's something that's really burning in my head. And I promise you it's not about commercials. It's about the Facebook moment in season 3. When you're making the Facebook profile, we come up with these photos that have to be from what, Tiger Beat or something. Was that the producers that found it? Did you have to track them down? I need to know where those photos came from, because they were amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that was a box my folks had kept in storage for years, right? And they had literally a box of all my old articles and magazines, and recently gave them to me, you know, for me to hold them. And when it came up in the script, they're like, hey, do you have any pictures? I'm like, I have some pictures. So I went back into that and pulled out some of them. I think they used the best ones. There was one that was just so funny that I thought would be great. I don't know why it didn't get used, but it's, you know, back in those days, you'd get taken to a beach or some location with some photographer and end up, you know, they're like, go in the ocean, you know, and get on your knees. So I'm on my knees in the ocean and a wave's breaking on my back, you know, the water's spraying everywhere. It was so funny. But yeah, so I had a box and I pulled them out, and they combed through them all and made their choices. It was a lot of fun. It was very funny to watch that.
Did your kids happen to see some of the photos, and did it get a reaction?
My kids haven't seen the show, so no. I don't think they've seen those photos unless they've Googled me without me knowing it. I imagine they might have bumped into something there. Yeah.
It was just curiosity. And finally, the origins of Send It to the Internet. Was that something you came up with in the moment, or was that a written scene, or from season 2 when you're shooting the commercial? Yeah. Where did that come from?
No, that was a scripted line. I love that line. I think that what's really fun about that whole commercial is how earnest he is in making something. He's saying, come out and don't be a pussy. And I mean, he means it with all his heart, you know, and, you know, come and let me teach you how to kick break some noses, you know, with his heart pumping. And then decides, you know, tells Aisha to put Thunderstruck under it and make it chrome. And then it says, and send it to the internet. And, you know, listen, he just watched Daniel do his bonsai commercial. He feels assaulted. He can't compete with Daniel's dojo because he's offering it for free. Johnny's trying to, you know, keep another piece of bologna in his mouth and one more beer, you know. And so Send It to the Internet was really fun to say. And it got to be, it kind of went around, you know, send it to the internet. I mean, that's everything. All that is the energy building up to that punch. I mean, he just get it out there. It's his explosion, you know. So that was a scripted line. It was how it was played. I think it was, you know, it could have been played right there in the moment with her, but as we rehearsed it, it became more of the afterthought and the button on the scene that played as a giant exclamation point, and then moved into the back room where he bumps into Armand, you know, the guy he's renting the place from. It was a good motivator to go in through that door. So I love that scene. I love his frustration. You know, he's just so frustrated. You know, it's like he's doing his best, anything he can do, and that's what I love about the character. Is anything he can do, he'll do it. He'll do anything. You know, he'll get beat up, he'll get his teeth knocked out. You know, he'll bang his head, and he'll apologize at the end if he's wrong. You know, he's not a dick. He's just, I mean, he could do some dicky things, but he's you know, his
He's the
own
most
guy.
human. He's the most human character on Cobra Kai, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Daniel is Daniel, but even though you see some of his warts in season 3, um, he's still, kind of on a semi pedestal. But Johnny's everybody. Everybody can relate to Johnny. But and that's why I think people are the fandom is growing with Netflix and whatnot. I think the fans have to be growing in numbers now that they're seeing on this big platform. I have to imagine you're getting fans screaming, "Send it to the internet!" When you're walking around. And I was Googling some other fan reactions to you and Ralph, and there are people with tattoos. Okay, tattoos of you in very peculiar places, and we'll just leave it at that. And I think the most peculiar thing was this, and I'm going to end on this note, and thank you so much for your time, is that I actually had people send to me through Instagram, because I was soliciting for questions, that I was to ask you why you didn't protest that kick in the tournament, the crane kick, that it was an illegal kick. I mean, these fans get absolutely invested in Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, etc. I mean, is it a little overwhelming? Are you touched by it? I mean, how do you take stuff like that?
Yeah, wow. There's a lot to unpack. Yeah, yeah, I'm touched. I definitely. I mean, listen, I'm an artist. I signed up for this because I empathize with people. I mean, as a kid, I could see through other people. I was they called me Dr. Z when I was a kid. My friends, that was my little nickname, and I always talk to people and help them out, and I can always see through different points of view. And I'm an empathetic person, I think so. I feel like playing this character and giving him a heart, and then seeing it resonate and bounce, and other people connecting to that, and sending it back with tattoos and gifts and things saying quiet and send it to the internet, and that there's nothing cooler than that, and I do that. I mean, I respect my fans. I think I get some great messages from fans, and that are dealing with this and trying to overcome this and that, and dealing that with their problems with maybe alcohol or with bullying, or forgiveness, or trying to get in touch with their dad again. I've had dads tell me that they reached out to their sons that they've been estranged with for years, for whatever reason. I'm a part of that. Listen, I'm the instrument that the notes are being played through. The writers are constructing this, and but then the marriage of that is who I am, what I bring as an artist, and the notes, and that it's kind of I don't know what is a word, resonating, and kind of a choir chorus, and so that's not cheesy with people. It's just sort of amazing. I can't explain it any other way. I'm thrilled by it, and I love that it's inspiring people, touching people, making them feel tough, making them feel like they can get themselves, challenge themselves, make themselves better. Listen, Johnny's a work in progress. He's got a long, long way to go. I'll tell you that. Long way to go, and maybe he will never get there. But that's humanity. That's our struggles. It's like, I think people can relate to someone struggling with something. Somebody relate to somebody trying to better themselves. Somebody, making mistakes over and over again. I think it's a very human thing. And so for however it's touching people, and everybody has their own take on it. Hey man, it's better than the Tilex commercial.
And we'll just leave it on that note. And